Ilse Koch, together with her husband, committed horrifying acts that shook the world. Their terrible actions even surprised the leaders of the Third Reich. Today, we will uncover the terrible things she did and the tragic end she faced. How wicked did Ilse become? How did she spread fear and despair among the people who were unlucky enough to meet her? In the peaceful city of Dresden, a kind-hearted girl named Ilse captivated the visitors to the local library. As she grew up, Ilse aspired to have a stable life and became interested in accounting. Instead, she had bigger ambitions than just money. But before that, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Unexpectedly, fate led Angel to meet Karl Koch, a member of the Nazi Party. They felt a strong connection and decided to embark on a journey together. In 1936, when Karl became a commandant at the Sachsenhausen concentration camp, Ilse joined him and took on the role of an accountant. However, things quickly changed for Ilse. Within 2 years at Sachsenhausen, she gained a reputation as one of the cruelest tormentors. She used a whip with razor blades to brutally beat prisoners, marking them with her evilness. Shockingly, Ilse didn't feel horrified by her actions. Instead, she reveled in the pain she inflicted on the unfortunate souls, finding pleasure in the twisted sensations. In 1937, Karl Koch was sent to Buchenwald, a desolate place where he was ordered to build a new concentration camp from scratch. But he wasn't alone in his cruel endeavors. His partner Ilse Koch joined him and surpassed him in terms of terrifying brutality, much to the horror of the prisoners. With a cold and indifferent look, she would casually walk through the camp, randomly selecting someone to mercilessly beat, leaving them on the verge of death. However, Ilse Koch's thirst for cruelty was insatiable. Not content with the horrors she had already unleashed, she decided to get a savage shepherd dog as a loyal companion. The couple's favorite pastime was to display their power by setting the ferocious dog upon the prisoners, especially targeting pregnant women. The camp became a theater of terror as Ilse Koch delighted in witnessing the pain and suffering of her victims, relishing the horrifying spectacle of the dog tearing into the flesh of the unfortunate souls. Unsurprisingly, the prisoners of Buchenwald gave her a chilling nickname, the Buchenwald Witch, a symbol of pure evil. While most people enjoy normal hobbies, Ilse took pleasure in choosing prisoners to be eaten by bears at the zoo. She would stand by the cage and enjoy the gory spectacle. But that wasn't enough for Ilse. She found an even more dreadful hobby, needlework. However, this wasn't ordinary sewing. She would select prisoners with tattoos and give them deadly injections. Once they were lifeless, she used their skin as her twisted canvas. The prisoners, knowing about Ilse's obsession, tried desperate measures to escape. Some purposely harmed themselves to ruin their tattoos, while others even sought death in the gas chamber, hoping to be permanently free. Among the victims was a famous French cabaret actress, tragically sent to a concentration camp despite her beautiful tattoo covering her entire back. When Ilse Koch saw the girl, her destiny was sealed. The Buchenwald Witch, driven by her twisted desires, turned the woman's skin into a horrifying tapestry of madness. She used the skin to create gloves, handbags, and even underwear. One prisoner named Albert Granowski, who worked in the morgue, witnessed Ilse Koch wearing panties made from the skin of another inmate named Aroma. The haunting tattoo that once adorned Aroma's body now decorated the undergarments that Ilse Koch wore. It was a grotesque display of her perverse artistry. In her relentless pursuit, Ilse Koch found an unexpected ally in the prison doctor. Together, they falsified death certificates, claiming that prisoners with noticeable tattoos died of heart attacks. But Koch's deranged obsession didn't stop within the confines of the camp. She started corresponding with the wives of commandants from other camps, sharing the dark secrets of her craft, using and processing human skin. Above all, she took great pleasure in creating lampshades from the flesh of her victims, earning the chilling nickname Frau Lampshade. It is truly shocking to comprehend the depths of depravity that consumed the Buchenwald Witch. There was no limit to her insatiable appetite for horror. One day, she noticed a tall and athletic young Czech prisoner, and the orders were given. What fate awaited this unfortunate soul at the hands of Ilse Koch's sadistic desires? After the prisoner was cleaned, fed, and dressed in a striped suit, he was invited to Ilse Koch's apartment. She was waiting for him wearing a pink dressing gown. It seemed like something bad might happen, but the prisoner made a fateful decision. He refused and signed his own death warrant with a pen. Then, a terrible and brutal attack took place. Ilse Koch unleashed her anger on the defiant man, beating him mercilessly. Finally, in the presence of a lampshade made from human skin, he was killed. Shockingly, amidst all the madness, Ilse Koch also wrote gentle and romantic poems, which contrasted with the cruel acts she committed. But the evil deeds of the couple couldn't stay hidden for long. Carl Koch, Ilse Koch's partner, was accused of murder, extortion, and stealing money. It was unusual because the very people in charge of executing others were accused of going beyond their authority in a gruesome way. To make matters worse, it was revealed that Ilse Koch had been secretly treated for syphilis by a doctor. The accusations kept piling up, with stealing a huge amount of money being the most serious offense. Despite pleading to be sent to the front lines and seeking redemption, Carl Koch was sentenced to death. He was found guilty, and his execution took place in the grim Buchenwald concentration camp in April 1945. As for Ilse Koch, she managed to escape capture. There was no direct evidence of her guilt, and she cleverly hid her twisted actions from prying eyes. As fate would have it, something unexpected happened when Ilse Koch was released from prison. She became an anti-Nazi activist, which is strange because she had once been involved in terrible crimes. She enjoyed the attention and the reputation she gained from this new role, until things changed again. In 1947, her dark past caught up with her. She was charged with the horrendous crimes she committed in Buchenwald. Desperate to prove her innocence, she claimed that her colleagues had conspired against her because she had been too dedicated to her official duties. Despite being pregnant, Ilse Koch was sentenced to life in prison in 1951. But then something unexpected happened. The High Commissioner dismissed the charges against Ilse Koch. They said that the evidence against her was not strong enough to prove her direct involvement in ordering executions or making horrifying things from tattooed skin. This decision shocked everyone and left the Germans furious. They couldn't understand how one of the most ruthless women of the Third Reich could be set free in such a confusing way. Even the American prosecutor William Denson, who had previously sentenced Ilse Koch to life in prison, was speechless. It was a terrible failure of justice that left everyone stunned. How could this wicked criminal escape the consequences of her evil deeds so easily? There were countless witnesses willing to testify against her, as she wasn't just the wife of a camp commander, but seemed to be cursed by a higher power. When German authorities arrested Koch after she was released from an American prison in Munich, her fate was sealed. A new trial was planned by the Bavarian Ministry of Justice. They gathered 240 survivors from the horrifying Sachsenhausen and Buchenwald concentration camps to provide irrefutable evidence. These witnesses carried the weight of history on their shoulders. Their testimonies revealed the horrors inflicted by the Buchenwald witch. With their accounts, Koch was once again sentenced to life in prison. Unyielding and unapologetic, Koch refused to admit her guilt. Even in letters to her son, she clung to the belief that she served her country dutifully. In her prison cell, she complained about injustice and was haunted by terrifying visions of the dead prisoners disrupting her sleep. As her life was coming to an end and she felt very sad, something important happened on September 1, 1967. Koch, a woman who carried the burden of her existence, made a big decision that would change her life forever. With a heavy heart, she had her last meal and said a heartfelt goodbye to her beloved son. Koch showed great courage and independence by choosing to end her own life. When Koch's son saw how much his mother struggled and remembered her, he decided to do something meaningful. He changed his last name to Keller to improve his reputation. 4 years later, in 1971, the son desperately reached out to the New York Times, a famous newspaper. He wanted them to share the sad and tragic story of Ilse Koch, hoping it would bring justice and vindicate his mother's memory. Sadly, the newspaper didn't respond to his letter, keeping the chilling story silent. The silence surrounding Ilse Koch reminds us how cruel people can be and how justice often goes unanswered. It reminds us of the unresolved questions that will always be remembered in history, making us feel uneasy. With that said, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more, and if you found this content helpful, give the video a like. See you in the next video. Till then, take care.